Gracie Jiu-Jitsu rocks. Welcome to the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Rocks podcast, a podcast dedicated to Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and all things Gracie, including self-defense, competition, anti-bullying, women's self-defense and empowerment, nutrition, and most especially, the people involved in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. This podcast is for the average Joe. It's for anyone who practices, trains, teaches, or just loves to talk about or hear about Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. We'll explore the lives of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu practitioners, how they got involved in the art, and what effect it's had on their lives. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. Welcome to episode 2 of the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Rocks podcast. I'm your host, Marty Josie, and thanks for listening. Today we'll be speaking with Ty Gay, owner and head instructor of Redline Gracie Jiu-Jitsu in Edmond, Oklahoma. He's a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Black Belt through the Gracie Academy, and he's also the lead singer of the band Everybody Panic. But before we meet him, I'd like to play a short clip of a video from Hicks and Gracie.
Courage is essential for the warrior. My inspiration coming from nature. I love nature in all the expressions. I love art. I love, expressions of beauty. It's part of my life being engaged in the moment. Maybe because I'm born and raised on the mat, feeling the grip, feeling the touch, feeling the compromise, feeling victory, feeling defeat. It's all about how I feel about things. I never expect much. I always felt like I obey my heart. For me to be a martial artist is everything. I'm born and raised in a family which is all about martial arts. It's a great leverage, a great tool for you to maximize your potential. I always try to challenge myself, to push myself to something unknown. The journey has to be based on passion. Put yourself in something you love to do. If you love what you do, you're able to dedicate yourself, overcome obstacles. The biggest gift I receive as a martial artist is, without a question, the capacity to be in peace. The most important thing is not victory. The most important thing is don't get defeat. My name is Hickson Gracie, and I'm a citizen of humanity just like you.
Okay, great video. And even though you can't see the video on the podcast, it's really what he's saying that is what's interesting and important anyway. If you do want to see the video itself, you can always go and find that on YouTube. Today's quote is also from Hicks and Gracie, and that quote is, I'm always in control of my possibilities and knowledge of my possibilities, emotionally, technically, and spiritually. That's what jiu-jitsu gave me. And I've been a big fan of Hickson, however you want to say it, Hickson Gracie's for many, many years now. To me, he embodies the essence of a true modern-day warrior. So, big fan of his. So, want to know what you think about that quote? Of course, you can go to the website at GracieJujitsuRocks.com and leave a comment. All right, let's meet our guest today, Ty Gay. So my guest today is Ty Gay, owner and head instructor of Redline Gracie Jiu-Jitsu in Edmond, Oklahoma. He's also a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Black Belt, and he's a rock star, and he's going to tell us all about all of that. So welcome, Ty. Thanks for being with me today.
Dude, thanks for having me.
All right. Also want to say congratulations on your Black Belt last summer. I was fortunate enough to be down in Destin at the immersion camp, and it was just a blast seeing you be awarded the Black Belt and your heartfelt speech that you made. It was just really cool. So congrats.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it was a dream come true, really, just to be a part of such a great movement like the Gracies are pushing right now. The whole Keep It Playful movement, dude, is just like man, it's everything right now.
Absolutely. So let's just jump on in and have you give us your martial arts background, kind of how your journey's been, how it started, and how you got to where you are today.
Oh, man. Well, I was born. No, it started about the age of 9. I started. I watched the Karate Kid movie, as probably a lot of us did, and so I saw that, and then I started directly there after that. I think that Christmas I got like a membership to a Taekwondo school, and I started doing Taekwondo and Hapkido at the age of 9, all the way up until I was a teenager. In 1989, I received my black belt in Taekwondo and in Hapkido, and I did like a lot of competition stuff back then, a lot of tournament stuff in Taekwondo. But I really favored a lot of the Hapkido stuff because they were doing like wrist locks and cool arm bars and stuff. But I didn't know jiu-jitsu at the time and didn't really know that that's the kind of martial art that I favored the most. Striking was really all that we had options for where I lived at. So it was just interesting though that Hapkido had some elements to jiu-jitsu in it, and I really, really liked that back then. So anyway, I started also playing the drums around the age of 13. I was doing private lessons, Taekwondo lessons with a guy who was a drum teacher, and he traded out drum lessons for me, which didn't make my instructor very happy. I started growing my hair out too at the same time, and he told me that for each degree of black belt that I got, I had to cut off 4 inches of my hair, and so I stopped training, and
that's not cool.
Yeah, crazy, right? But so I stopped training there, and I started playing drums full time, and I started playing in bars at the age of 14. I got my first drum set. My dad would chaperone me around everywhere, drive me in, and there was a thing that we could fill out at the time that would say, that I wouldn't drink while I was in the bar or whatever. And so yeah, I started playing music and doing that. Now, fast forward a little bit, I was backstage at a lot of Tool concerts. Tool's a band that's a pretty prominent rock band, and I was backstage at several of these concerts, and one of them I met the bodyguard for the singer of Tool, and his name was Henry Akins. Henry Akins is a black belt under Hickson now, but back then he was just a blue belt, and I met him, and I walked up to him, and I was like, man, I know that you do some sort of martial art. I can just tell. And I'll never forget, he crossed his arms in the Gracie pose, and kind of raised his chin up and looked down at me and said, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And I was just like, man, just kind of blown away because I've already seen like UFC 1 and 2 and 3 and I think 4 had just happened. And I was just like, whoa, this is crazy. And luckily enough, Henry was getting dropped off in Oklahoma for his parents lived here. And so he was getting dropped off the Inema tour with Tool to visit with his parents. And so he stayed here for a couple of months and we trained every single day at my house. And he gave me my basics in jiu-jitsu. And at the time, I did not realize how lucky I was. I didn't know Rickson Gracie from anybody else, and so Henry was training with Rickson, which is, of course, everybody knows now is like a god of jiu-jitsu.
Absolutely.
But back then I had no clue. And so he would just show me all these self-defense things, which is really awesome now because, now I'm a black belt and I've seen all these things come all the way back around to learning those things again. And it was just really crazy how beautiful that his art was even back then, as a blue belt. And so I had to get into jiu-jitsu at that point. I was very determined. In fact, I think I was dating a girl at the time and her boyfriend had claimed to know jiu-jitsu or something and wanted to beat me up and something. So I was really wanting to figure out, well, what is this magical martial art, And so after training with Henry for a little bit, I finally found a judo school because I went out to California, trained with Henry a little bit there, and they told me basically Rickson told Henry you should just go find this guy named Pat Burse who lives there in Oklahoma. He's an Olympic judo coach. So I went and found Pat and I studied there with Pat for 5 years and taught at his school and stuff and received a black belt under Pat. And it was really awesome, but there was no jiu-jitsu around us, so there was no BJJ schools like on every corner like there is now. So I would take the things that Henry showed me and I would apply them to the Niawaza techniques that Pat was showing me. And then I really didn't get very good at judo, but his guys were really good at judo. They were like Olympians, and so I was able to fend them off. I think that's how I climbed the ranks, was just being able to try to stay alive with all those monsters, And then later on, I got connected with a guy named Leonardo Xavier, who is a black belt under Salo Huberto and Hoyler. And I trained in his association and fought for his association in Gracie Mata for 8.5 years. It was a great experience, but it was very sport. So, it was all, devoted to, points and advantage points and knowing the rules and taking advantage of the game. And, and that stuff is really cool. And I have a deep passion for sport jiu-jitsu. I really do. But I started, with Henry in this very street applicable, thing. And Henry would also come in town every year for Christmas because his parents lived here, right? So every time I was learning new stuff or, things I thought, X-Guard or whatever, Henry would come in. And if you've ever trained with Henry or with Rickson for that matter, they're very emphatic about what they do. It's just, this is the way it is, period, And it was funny a lot of times how Henry would just kind of laugh at the things I was doing and just smash right through me, with some just basic, just jiu-jitsu 101,
Right.
And so that was always in the back of my mind, And I started progressing to the point of I was almost a black belt in that association that I was in. And I was very disillusioned with my progress, with how I understood the game, because I had like little chunks of the puzzles. What I felt like I had little pieces of the game that I was really good at, and then I didn't know why those worked the way that they did, or the relationship between those pieces and other pieces. It was just kind of like a kind of a mess. And me and my instructor at the time, we didn't quite see eye to eye on several things. It was mainly on how to run schools and stuff like that. We're still friends though. We parted on good terms, but I just wanted to kind of go my own way, and I didn't feel like I was black belt level, and they were getting ready to promote me to that. And so still I went to Henry and sought Henry out and said, man, what do you think I should do? I want to be able to, I really wanted to train under Henry, but Henry would not do an association. Kind of like Rickson for a while was just kind of anti the whole thing. And, I guess that's a whole different topic, but I just wanted that kind of feeling. And my friend who's an eye doctor, got the opportunity to go train with Henner and Hidon, Horion, and Halleck and everybody at Fiji, and at this Gracie immersion camp in Fiji that happened. He asked me if I wanted to go, and I'm like, come on, really, Fiji? I can't afford to even go, to another state, much less to Fiji, So anyway, my doctor buddy goes out there. He meets Henner and everybody, and ends up finding out that Henner's girlfriend, who is Eve Torres, needed eye surgery, right? For she needed a special kind of contact lens implant thing or whatever that my buddy John Bellardo does. So he came in, and John worked out a deal. If Henner would do a seminar at my school, he would do Eve's eyes for free. They would just come on in. So they came in.
Nice.
I met Henner for the first time. And as we all know, probably at this point now, Henner is a magical entity. And I'll never forget the seminar. He came in and he showed the American key lock of all things. And he looked up and stared up at his grandfather's picture. I'll remember it plain as day. And he had the look on his face of amazement. It was the same look of amazement that everybody else in the room had on their face. It was the craziest thing I'd ever experienced. And I knew at that moment, I was like, man, this is the Karate Kid movie right here. This is exactly what I've been looking for my whole life. And so at that point,
that gives me chills just hearing that.
Yeah, dude. So at that point, I was a devout follower at that point. And I told him that. I was like, from now on out, you don't even have, at that time, they weren't really doing associations. They were just trying they had an experimental CTC thing they were trying with, a few guys like Bill Odom and some guys, and weren't really, open to the idea of doing things like that. And I just said, listen, I'm just going to just follow you. That's just it. And then after that, of course, I met Hidon, who's, another very interesting character. You talk about deep. Henner is very, he's very political oriented. He's very business oriented and a mastermind at it, a lot like his father. But Hidon is, he is the essence of martial arts in a lot of ways. He, like just the way that he views life and he views challenge is very, very awesome to me. He thinks of there being no bad positions, not just in jiu-jitsu, but in life, and that you should never be comfortable, because comfortable is it's a slow death. So I really adhere to that. He is the Mr. Miyagi of the Karate Kid movie for sure.
For sure.
So anyway, I've been training with them now for 5 years, and got my black belt under them. That's one of the greatest honors ever. I had to go, to be honest, from the brown belt that I was and relearn everything from white belt back all the way to black belt. And that seems like a daunting task, but really I tell people it was actually easier for me because I was already a brown belt. So the things I was learning, I was just putting things in order. And so it was priceless to my game. My game has changed. I understand the whole puzzle and all the relationship between all the pieces of the puzzle. And I didn't think that was possible at one point, so, and I owe that completely to them.
Wow. That's a great journey that you continue today, but that's a great story. I also want to give you props for your YouTube videos for Gracie, for Redline Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. If you haven't been to his Facebook site, Redline Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, definitely check it out over there. He puts out some awesome videos, so definitely check that out.
Yeah, it's was YouTube Redline GJJR, so check that out for sure. Actually, who told me to do that first was Hidon. He started telling me to do that a long time ago, and I think there was a little bit of flack about it in the beginning of when everything happened, and because he kind of stood up for me, they basically took me under their wing a little bit and said, listen, this is the way it needs to be done to make it work out right. And so they have a formula for everything, and I really, really, I like that outlook. They're very scientific about everything. And so, the videos are that too. They're not very long. My videos are maybe 4 minutes tops, but it's just to get kind of people in the door for the idea of jiu-jitsu, because it's so awesome.
Right on.
We should share it with everyone,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, what's been the most interesting or exciting thing for you about studying and practicing and teaching Gracie Jiu Jitsu?
The effect that it has on others' lives. Yeah, because it's changed my life. My life is awesome for it, but the effect that it has on other people's lives is, I mean, it's so heavy. It's like once you realize that you can have that kind of effect on people, you're almost obligated, I think, to have that effect. You need to go out there. There's people that are just waiting for somebody to tell them go, tell them let's do it. And so, and once they turn the switch, it changes their lives. For instance, I got this guy come up to me in Whole Foods the other day. He was an older gentleman. He came up to me and was like, "Oh, are you a wrestler?" I think I had a black eye at the time or something, but I was like, "No, I'm a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu instructor." And he was like, "Oh, well, I used to do wrestling and pole vault and all this stuff." And he was an older gentleman. You could tell, and right there, he was reliving with me something that was magical in his life that he had previously. Come to find out, this guy's like 74 years old, right? So I said, "Man, you should come try jiu-jitsu and just check it out." And he's like, "Oh, well, do you have a card?" And I was like, "I didn't have a card with me at the time." And he was like, "Well, here's my email. I don't know how to work it very well." He goes, "But I could probably, if you sent me something, I could probably click on it." So I sent him the information to the school. He emailed me right back, and he came up the next day. His name's Jerry Thrower. He's been on the mats every single day, twice a day since that day.
Wow.
And it's given him a second lot, like a third life. He's 74, so he had his 74th birthday actually at our gym. So he's there every single day, twice a day. And somebody said the other day, like, "Jerry's always on the mat." And he said, "Well, all my friends are either dead or here." That's freaking awesome.
Gosh.
I want to have
awesome,
like
man.
that when I'm 74. I want to be able to do something that I can train, that I can be part of a group that, it's just because anybody that's ever trained in a CTC or in any kind of with Henner or Hedon know that there's a special atmosphere that's going on in these places. It's a very tight knit family of people who are scientific minded, that are trying to help each other in any way, shape, or form. And so you don't always get that in all jiu-jitsu schools. I mean, even my school prior to this, it was a meat grinder. You would come in and we prided ourselves on making you throw up on your first day, and a lot of schools around here are like that, just meat grinders. I mean, we're next door to Lovato's. Lovato is, 5-time world champion, just, awesome, just competitor. And we have a lot of competitive people in this market around here in Oklahoma, into Texas. So to have a school like ours is very, very, it's very different for the community around here. But it allows people like the Jerry Throwers of the world and the women or the old. We've got some older ladies that are in there that are just kicking butt. So you wouldn't be able to have that. You wouldn't be able to have that if you didn't start them off in a program like the Gracies have designed. With this.
So true. It's kind of the opposite of the old "to be the hammer, you must first be the nail" mentality. So
right. Yeah, it is.
So cool. Right. Exactly. Let's switch gears for a minute, Ty. Tell us about your band, Everybody Panic, and how that got started, and just enlighten us on that.
Well, I have been in bands the majority of my life since I was very young. Obviously, since I had left, was playing drums. I since became, I ended up in my career of playing music, learning how to play every instrument, because if you're in this business for very long, you end up having to do several different things, wear several different hats. I learned how to become a singer, and I started singing several years ago, more than I'm willing to admit. And here, the last 3 years, there's been several bands that have done some things, been on labels and stuff around here, and we've taken the best pieces of those bands and kind of put them all into one super group for around here, and it's called Everybody Panic. Everybody Panic's the kind of the brainchild of me and Provo Provenzano. He's the guitar player and he's a Pro Tool engineer, so we have our own studio. We record all of our own music. We do everything in-house, make our own T-shirts, our own CDs, the whole 9 yards. Interesting. We've got to go here recently on tour. We played with several great acts here. We played with Deftones. We played with Five Finger Death Punch. Recently, we were on tour with Five Finger Death Punch. It was really awesome because everybody on their tour does jujitsu. So, like, they handpick people to go on tour that do jujitsu specifically.
How cool.
Really freaking cool.
Yes.
So all day long we would train, and then at night we would play these big shows, and it's really cool. And it's in the band atmosphere. It's hard sometimes to be like 100% on your diet or to be training all the time. But when you're in that kind of environment, everybody's helping everybody else out. It's really cool. It's not just like some big crazy wild party. I guess it is. It's a jiu-jitsu party though.
Wow. You couldn't ask for better than that, man.
Yeah, man, I'm pretty happy with it. We plan on going to do some more stuff this year. It's getting ready to come up. So yeah, look for us coming to your town soon.
Absolutely. And website for Everybody Panic?
It'd be best just to go to our Facebook page for right now. Our website is being rebuilt right now.
Okay.
You can find us on Facebook at Everybody Panic. You can also check us out on YouTube. We've got some videos out there.
Yeah, and we're going to play a clip from one of your songs, Such a Waste. Give us a little bit about what this video is about, or what it was like making it, whatever you want to share with that. It looked like it was a fun, wild time making it.
It is. There's some points to be made in the video, though. It's basically talking about how life is kind of a distraction. It's easy to be distracted just by everyday things that are going on around us. But if one was inclined to be focused, he would have a much better opportunity at life.
One of the coolest parts, in my opinion, in the video drives that point home, where everything's going on around you, just chaos, craziness, and you're kind of there, and you close your eyes, and then it shows you open your eyes, and you're on the mat, and you have this little smile, and then the word breathe comes on. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, man. I mean, because that's where I'm at in my head most of the time, you know?
That's great. We're going to play a clip now, so let's do that.
Ooh.
Okay, awesome song. So I encourage you to check out his Facebook page and YouTube for more of this, and you can get more information there. Okay. All right, let's talk about your time off the mat. Do you have any other hobbies? Well, do you have time for anything besides jiu-jitsu and your music?
Just being awesome. That's my hobby.
That's a full-time job, right?
Yeah, right. No, really, if I'm off the mat, I'm working my butt off. On the mat is when I'm probably the most relaxed and not working that hard. But man, we've started a new clothing company, and it's actually a gi or kimono company. It's called Shijitsu. It's pretty awesome. It's going to we're going to create custom gis basically that are sized different than they have been before. We're going to have like hip sizes and bra sizes and awesome colors, and there's just not that many options right now on the market. We're also going to support different charities that are for women and girls, and we're going to find a way to be able to like take some of the best girls that are competing right now that just don't have a way to go to like Pan Ams or Worlds and stuff like that. We're going to find a way to be able to fund their trips and just help women out, because I mean, if it wasn't for them, there wouldn't be us.
Yeah, man, that is fantastic. And you're doing this in collaboration rather with is she your girlfriend or your fiance or what is
Fiance.
Jennifer?
She's the
All right.
brains, and I'm the brawn. she
And
uh,
that's
she,
Jennifer
uh,
Gray, correct?
she's super amazing. Jennifer Gray. She runs the Women in Power program here at our school. She is the sole reason that we have such a huge women's program. There are days on our mats when there are more women than there are men, and that's just unheard of in typical jiu-jitsu settings, you know. So, I mean, she's really been cranking them out, and she's had this little shijitsu thing going on for quite a while now with her Facebook, and she's had a few clothing articles and stuff that have come out, but now we're really taking it to the next level. We're gonna have the compression pants, fight, whatever they look like, leggings or whatever. Girls really like that. The yoga pant type style stuff we'll have of course the custom gis, and we'll have rash guards and the whole 9 yards, starting up.
Wow, full line.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, it sounds like you've got a great partner on and off the mat there with Jennifer. So
She
props to you guys for all you're doing for women.
she's getting ready to go to do the Pan American Championships here in just like a week.
Awesome. Nice.
And go out there and give it what for. Even though our main focus here is more just fight applicable moves, but it's a cool thing for her because she never gets to fight people her size, and so it's a guaranteed way for her to be able to get some matches with girls that are her size. So, for that, it's worth it.
Right on. Okay. You recently had an in-house tournament. I believe your first in-house tournament. Tell us how that went.
This has been the one that probably got the most notoriety, I would say.
Tell us how it was organizing that, how it went, and just share your thoughts on that.
It was really, really amazing. It was a no-point system tournament with, very liberal rules, I would say. We did 15 minutes with a 2-minute overtime that did have points. So if it went down to the last, went all the way through the whole thing, then we could figure out a way to make somebody win. So it wasn't just a draw. And so people really liked that. There was a lot of submissions because the game opens up so much when you're not worried about somebody getting past your guard or, mount for a second or whatever. It's much more relaxing. And what's cool is around our group, and I've been here for so long, I've met everybody that's in the community, and I'm pretty good friends with everybody. Everybody might be part of different associations or whatever, but at the end of the day, we're all part of jiu-jitsu. So I think everybody really gets that vibe at our tournaments, and it was just really cool because we're still a small group. Jiu-jitsu in general is a small group. And once we figure out that we're not really fighting against each other as like association versus association, we're really us against the world. And if that's the case, then we're on the same team. And that's the kind of vibe that it had. So it was just really an honor to be a part of that kind of vibe because it just feels new, I remember when jiu-jitsu first started and here in America, and we would have like a tournament like way off in some place. I remember there was one time we had to drag all the mats out into a football field and pull the cars around there. Me and Lovato and a bunch of different guys dragged these mats out to a football field, put cars with lights on there, and finished the tournament that way because we ran out of time to have it in the gym. So that was a cool experience and a cool time. I think this is that time now for this new rule set. Abu Dhabi is very good with changing up the rules and stuff, but I think it's time to take it to that next level and have this no rules format just keep on, evolving like this, like Metamorphs. Man, how awesome is that?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. I think there's a trend. A lot of people are tired of kind of how that whole sport thing's going with the stalling and the points, and it's a lot more exciting and free.
Either because that's the way the game is. It's like you find loopholes and you manipulate. Exactly. Makes you a good player. So it's not the jiu-jitsu guy's fault. It's the rule set's fault. It makes it that way. So just having more options just makes it cool to see more facets of jiu-jitsu, I think.
I agree, because I do love the sport as well, but it's a lot better when someone's really going. Like how Krone's philosophy is that I'm always going for submission. I don't care what kind of tournament it is. My job is to try to submit somebody. Not exploit what rule I can find. So good. I'm glad that trend's going well, and you're a part of it. So we'll keep an eye on that some more.
Sure.
So, if you could train with someone, anyone, living or deceased, who would that be, Ty?
Holes Gracie.
Okay. Great choice.
Yeah, he's I've always just wondered, I think everybody in jiu-jitsu does. But Rickson talks so highly of him, so I think that would probably be the guy. But Elio would have been cool too. But I'm afraid that he would have probably hurt me. He's always proving the point, So,
right.
But
yep.
But yeah, I think
Holes. I definitely would have liked to share that experience as well. Got a chance to train with Rickson a little bit and loved it. Would have loved to trained with Elio for sure, but also Holes would be on top of the list for sure.
I've been blessed. I've got to train with some really, really good guys that are out there. But I gotta say, the guy who was probably the most magical out of everybody, as far as like just the whole thing, has got to be Hedon. He's pretty amazing on the ground, the way that he's able to manipulate different parts of the game. It's pretty remarkable.
Indeed. Yeah, you could learn forever from Hedon for sure.
Yeah, so awesome. I love going staying with that guy.
Yeah, I'm going to be hitting his seminars coming up in Maryland and Northern Virginia later this month. So looking forward to that. Yeah,
and I suggest anybody that can ever make the journey to travel to him, do it, because it's just one of those things that later on we will look at. It's like Rickson used to run these crazy workouts in his garage, right? A long time ago, and hardly anybody would ever really show up for him. And now everybody looks back and they're like, "Oh my God, I so wish I went to that." People will look back on Hedon as being the same way. He is changing the way that people view jiu-jitsu movement, and that's huge. He's the next evolutionary step, in my opinion.
I totally agree. He's put the pebble in the pond, so to speak, and the ripples are going out, and it's going to be just amazing and interesting to watch how that continues to grow and spread.
Yeah.
Okay, do you have a favorite position or submission in your current jiu-jitsu game?
Whichever one I catch you with.
Which would probably be anyone you wanted when it comes to
I like inverted spot. I'm just joking. Deep half. No. I don't. I like just how all positions are connected together. I think that's the part that really floats my boat. It's not the positions themselves, because all the positions are awesome, but there's like this, it's like tile having grout. The grout is cool to me. I don't know. That's the part I'm at right now.
That's interesting. Good way to put it. Do you follow the Gracie diet or any other specific nutritional program?
Yeah, I do. I follow the Gracie diet, but I don't follow it 100%. I mean, and I suggest that anybody who's trying to follow it, don't get too crazy and try to do the whole thing all at once, or you won't be able to stick with it. It's too intense for some people. I mean, Henner and Hedon, they're magic. Try to get as good as you can, but don't be beating yourself up if you screw it up and have whatever, mix something together. But I'll also say this: I've cut most meat out of my life. We're in Oklahoma, so it's meat and potatoes here, and I grew up on steak and potatoes my whole life. But I find that I feel a lot different when I'm not eating meat. And there's a bunch of people that's going to hate me for that, a bunch of my meat eating friends, but that's just how it is. Not as bloated, and I don't feel, it makes me feel sluggish.
Yeah. Bottom line is you got to find what works for you, right? And if you feel better and perform better doing it that way, that's the way you do it. And I like your point about not beating yourself up if you don't do it perfectly as well, because I know a lot of people can do part of the Gracie diet at this point, and they might not be doing it perfectly. And it's good to remember, do as you can, and you can always keep progressing and
Yeah, it's like
get better as you go.
Horion told me once. He's like, don't expect to be a black belt, in one day of doing jiu-jitsu. Don't expect to be a black belt in the diet either. So I'm running at a strong purple belt.
That's cool. That's cool, my friend. Okay, so what's the most important thing or aspect of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu to you, and how has Gracie Jiu-Jitsu impacted your life? You've already shared some of this, but just anything else you want to add along those lines would be great.
Man. So there's just some interesting philosophies, I think, that are intertwined with Gracie Jiu-Jitsu that are very important. One, to take nothing personal. It's very, very important, and it's almost impossible to do. And so it's very important, I guess, to be aware that you are taking things personal. So take nothing personal except for your own actions. The other thing is to always be in a constant state of being thankful. It's very important to be thankful for the things that you have, because there's so many times when we will take things for granted. We always see it in hindsight. So if we always see it in hindsight that we could have been more thankful, we might as well just be thankful all the time. So it's very important to be thankful. That's part of the smiling thing. You always see from Hiron. Hiron's always smiling, right? Smiling it's infectious, and it causes this endorphin exchange between people. And so it's a way of him giving back. And so I think that it's important to be that kind of thankful, because, man, this life is pretty amazing, and it is worth being thankful for. The other thing is this, I would say, to be connected but not attached. What does this mean? It means that you should understand what's going on, but not be so attached to it that you get rolled over with it. For example, I want to have a mount position with the American key lock. I want to be connected to the American key lock, meaning that I would like to get this thing, but if he starts to roll me over, I'm not attached to it to where I get rolled over. I can bail on that because I'm not attached to it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can apply that to relationships or any other part of your life.
Jiu-jitsu is not just movement of the body on the mat. It is movement of the mind through life.
Absolutely. And I like what you said about smiling. They've done experiments where they had people that were depressed smile for 20 minutes at a time, and just that simple act has made a major difference in their lives.
Man.
Right. So being aware and being appreciative of everything is great to hear, and always remind ourselves we always have a choice of what we focus on in any day, in any given situation. There's always things around you that you could use as references to feel crappy about, or to feel awesome about, because there's always something great to be happy about and appreciative of. So
totally,
great
bro.
Words, man.
Totally.
All right. Along those lines, do you have a favorite quote per se or motto that inspires you or you live by?
Ooh. Yeah. Don't suck. It's funny. We were on tour with Five Finger Death Punch, and their sound guy, he was a Wing Chun guy, and I was talking to him back there, and he had this sticker on his board, on his soundboard, and it said "Don't suck," and he was like, "Yeah, man, this is all I care about right here." He pointed at that, and I was like, talking about band stuff, like I thought he meant like playing bad or whatever. He was like, "No, man, just don't suck at life. Like if you say something mean to somebody, that's you sucking. If you do something that doesn't create positivity, that sucks. Don't suck." I was like, man, that's perfect. So, yeah, I live by that motto. Don't suck.
Yeah, you should throw that under your clothing line.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. That's awesome.
All right. If you could go back in time, Ty, and speak with white belt Ty, what would you tell him?
Oh, man. A lot. I was very stubborn, very hard-headed, and I cut a lot of corners. I have really fast twitch muscle fibers, and I'm very, very flexible. So I cut a lot of corners and really ripped myself off from learning certain positions because I had the ability to cut the corner. But what that did was it hurt me later on. I didn't get the full potential of my leverage until much later, until I had to go back and relearn everything the right way.
Okay, great. Anything else you want to share with us in parting?
Yeah, man, this is the thing. As long as you can train just a couple of times a week, if you can just train 1 day a week for the rest of your life, is better than training 2 times a day for 6 months. And I think that's the thing that I see most people get into in the beginning is they get in, they overtrain, and then they get hurt or whatever, and then they're out. Jiu-jitsu is something that changes your life and makes your life just much more gratifying. And so you want to be able to do that for as long as possible. And so it's back to being comfortable again. We want so many things in life, And for some of us who obsess over jiu-jitsu and want to be in the mat every single day, that's cool. But sometimes you need to make yourself a little bit uncomfortable by not being there. So sometimes I think being on the mat too much, it kills your drive to be there for too long. So
Wow, that's good.
Super important.
That's good. It can really knock your balance out of whack, it sounds like.
Yeah, man.
Okay, cool. Well, man, thanks so much for being with us today. Loved hearing your words, and you're a very fascinating guy. And certainly shout out to Jennifer as well.
Sure.
You guys keep doing on what you're doing. You can learn more about Ty and Redline Gracie Jiu-Jitsu at www.redlinebjj.com.
Boom.
Okay, time for our Make a Difference, Make an Impact segment. Today's quote is, "Don't wait until everything is just right. It will never be perfect. There will always be challenges, obstacles, and less than perfect conditions. So what? Get started now. With each step you take, you will grow stronger and stronger, more and more skilled, more and more self-confident, and more successful." Mark Victor Hansen. So as you go through your day and your week, I'd like to encourage you to keep this in mind. Don't wait till everything's perfect. Too many times we let the thought of when this happens or when this is just right, we'll get this done or we'll do this, something we've been wanting to do for a long time. But there never is going to be the perfect time and when all the stars align and everything's perfect. So I encourage you to, if there's something that you've been wanting to do and been putting it off, just take life by the horns and do it now. Go for it. And that's going to do it for today's episode. Hope you enjoyed it. And as always, if you enjoyed it, please head over to our website at www.graciejujitsurocks.com and post a comment. Also head over to iTunes and subscribe to the show. Again, thanks for listening. This is Marty Josie, and I'll see you on the mat.